Hello, travel lovers! Welcome to Amazing Travels. In this video, I'll take you on a unique Wawel Castle walk. UNESCO World Heritage, 1,000 years of kings, dragons, and glory. Wawel Castle, Krakow, the soul of Poland. Perched on a limestone hill above the Vistula River, Wawel Castle is not merely a building. It is the heartbeat of Polish civilization. For centuries, it housed kings, safeguarded national treasures, and witnessed the most dramatic moments in Poland's long history. Today, it stands as one of Europe's finest royal complexes and the country's most visited monument. 1,000 years of history. The earliest beginnings, circa 9th to 10th century. The hill itself was inhabited long before any castle stood on it. Archaeological excavations have uncovered traces of human settlement dating back to Neolithic times, and by the 9th century, a fortified stronghold already existed here. The site held obvious strategic advantages. A natural limestone outcrop rising 228 meters above sea level, flanked on one side by the Vistula and commanding views across the surrounding plains. The earliest structures were simple wooden fortifications, but the location was too valuable to remain modest for long. The Piast dynasty and the first stone castle, 10th to 14th century. When Mieszko I unified the Polish tribes and created the first Polish state around 960 AD, Krakow was already emerging as an important settlement. His son Bolesław I Chrobry, the Brave, made it a royal seat, and work began on the first stone structures atop Wawel Hill. The Rotunda of the Virgin Mary, partially preserved to this day, dates from around 1000 AD and is one of the oldest surviving stone buildings in Poland. Krakow was not yet the official capital. That distinction initially belonged to Gniezno, but it grew steadily in prestige. In 1038, following devastating raids by the Bohemian prince Bretislav, King Casimir I, the Restorer, moved the royal court permanently to Krakow, and from that moment, Wawel became the seat of Polish power. The Romanesque cathedral built during this period, consecrated in 1142, laid the foundations for the magnificent Gothic cathedral that would follow. The 13th century brought catastrophe. The Mongol invasions of 1241 and 1259 left Krakow in ruins. The castle was rebuilt, but the trauma of destruction spurred the Polish rulers to invest far more heavily in stone fortifications. Under King Wenceslaus II and the later Piast kings, the hilltop was gradually transformed into a properly fortified royal complex. The Golden Age, the Jagiellonian dynasty, 1386 to 1572. If there is a single era that defines Wawel as we know it today, it is the Jagiellonian period, and it ranks among the most glorious chapters in all of Central European history. It began with a dynastic union. In 1386, the pagan Grand Duke Jogaila of Lithuania was baptized, took the name Władysław II Jagiełło, and married the young Polish Queen Jadwiga, uniting the Polish and Lithuanian crowns. Their partnership, political and personal, gave birth to one of the largest and most powerful states in Europe. Wawel was their home, and they made it magnificent. The crowning moment of Jagiellonian power came in 1410, when King Władysław II Jagiełło defeated the Teutonic Knights at the Battle of Grunwald, one of the largest land battles in medieval Europe. The victory was celebrated at Wawel, cementing the castle's association with Polish military triumph and national pride. Under Casimir IV Jagiellon, reigned 1447 to 1492, and his son Sigismund I the Old, reigned 1506 to 1548. Wawel was transformed from a Gothic fortress into a Renaissance palace of European stature. Sigismund I had married Bona Sforza, an Italian princess from the Milanese ruling family, and she brought with her an entourage of Italian architects, artists, and craftsmen. The result was an extraordinary fusion of Polish Gothic tradition with Italian Renaissance elegance. The architect Francisco the Florentine, followed by Bartolomeo Berecci, oversaw the construction of the Renaissance arcaded courtyard, today considered one of the finest examples of Renaissance architecture north of the Alps. 3 tiers of graceful arcaded galleries surround an open courtyard, their proportions borrowed from the great palaces of Florence and Rome, but adapted to the Polish climate and taste. Walking through it today, you feel the ambition and cosmopolitan confidence of a kingdom at its peak. Sigismund I also commissioned the Sigismund Chapel, Kaplica Zygmuntowska, attached to the cathedral. Completed in 1533 and designed entirely by Bartolomeo Berecci, it is considered the finest example of Renaissance funerary architecture in Poland. A gilded domed masterpiece sometimes called the Pearl of the Renaissance north of the Alps. Sigismund I's son, Sigismund II Augustus, reigned 1548 to 1572, was the last of the Jagiellonian line and a man of extraordinary cultural sophistication. He amassed the finest collection of Flemish tapestries ever assembled by a Polish monarch, over 350 pieces commissioned from Brussels workshops. Many of these remarkable weavings, depicting biblical scenes, hunting landscapes, and allegorical subjects, survive to this day and are displayed in the castle's staterooms. The move to Warsaw and decades of neglect, 17th to 18th century. The Jagiellonian line died with Sigismund II Augustus in 1572. His successor, Stefan Batory, continued to use Wawel, but the real blow came under Sigismund III Vasa, who in 1596 moved the royal capital from Krakow to Warsaw. Wawel did not cease to be a royal residence entirely. Coronations and burials continued there, but the castle gradually slipped from the center of Polish political life. The 17th century brought further indignities. A catastrophic fire in 1595 destroyed large sections of the interior, and the reconstruction was only partial. Swedish invasions during the deluge of 1655 to 1660 caused enormous damage, with occupying troops looting the treasury and stripping rooms of their furnishings. The great tapestry collection was partly dispersed. When the Swedes returned during the Great Northern War in the early 18th century, more damage and looting followed. By the second half of the 18th century, Wawel was a shadow of its former self, partly abandoned, its rooms dusty, its revenues depleted. Under occupation, the Partitions era, 1795 to 1918. Poland's tragedy deepened dramatically in 1795, when the Third Partition of Poland erased the nation from the map of Europe entirely, dividing its territory between Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Krakow fell to Austria, and Wawel Castle became an Austrian military garrison. For over a century, soldiers were quartered in the royal chambers, barracks were built within the medieval walls, and the castle was treated as military property rather than a national monument. Dragon's Den descend into the cave of the legendary Wawel dragon beneath the castle, then meet the fire-breathing bronze statue on the riverbank outside. Love what you've seen? Don't miss our future adventures in paradise. Hit that subscribe button now to join our journey and be the first to discover hidden gems across the world. Until the next time!